I only read 2 books in the entire of October, so this is my attempt to do some sort of reading wrap-up for the 2 books that I finished. I did DNF a book as well, so I'm going to talk about that. But because of how short this video is likely to be, because I didn't read much, I'm going to talk to you about what I plan on reading in November. I want to talk to you about what I've got in a bag behind the camera. Literally lost my mind, just picked it up from a charity shop, saw it there, and I was like, shit the bed, let me buy this, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. And just a general catch up, because it's been absolutely wild for me lately. As a lot of you know, I recently started a new job as a postman, really enjoying that. The physical strain of the job is catching up with me, but as time goes on and as I'm there longer and longer, I'm obviously going to lose a bit of weight and get fitter, so the job will get easier. The home move is, it's moving. It's not complete yet. It's just stressful. Look, if you've moved house, you know how stressful it can be. And I think an accumulation of everything, the home move, the new job, kids having half term off as well, it's been too much. So whenever I've tried to pick up a book, my mind has just been thinking about everything really. You know, can we financially afford this move? Have we chose the right location? Are the kids going to be okay? Are they going to make new friends? So when I'm laid down at night and I'm picking up a book, I'm like looking at words on the paper, and my mind's just not taking it in. So I think that's one of the reasons I didn't read as much. But a couple of the books that I did read, I really enjoyed. And the one that I DNF'd, I don't feel like, you know, the current situation was any part of the reason why I DNF'd it. I think my reasons for DNFing the book are very valid. So I'm going to talk to you about that. So let's start off with what I read in October. So I started off October in a massive reading slump. Again, I think it was the stress of the move. I just couldn't get into reading. And it really angered me. I put a lot of pressure on myself when it comes to reading, because it's the one hobby that I truly enjoy and that never goes away. And when I can't read, or I'm not getting lost in books, I kind of think like, well, what else am I supposed to do? Adult? That sucks. So I picked up Harry Potter. I picked up the Philosopher's Stone, because that's usually the place where I go to when I want to get lost again. It's my almost guarantee that I'll enjoy it. So I went back into the Philosopher's Stone and I bloody loved it. I've spoke to you about this before. As an adult, I've never read any further than The Prisoner of Azkaban. I've read the first 3, and I continuously tell myself that I'm going to do the whole series and just see how it hits different as an adult, but I just never get around to completing it because it gets me out of a reading slump, and then I pick something else up and I forget to go back to Harry Potter, and then when I get back in a reading slump, I go back to book 1 because that's my safe place. And book 1 did not disappoint. It did everything that it always does for me. It reminded me why I fell in love with reading. I love just the magicalness of that world. I love what was created. I love, as an adult, how you look through this world via a different lens. And I love how you can kind of see the abuse that Harry suffers and how that shapes the character that he is. You know, as a kid, I read the world and I loved the magicalness of it, and I loved the school aspect, but I don't think I fully appreciated how strong Harry was as a character, having gone through what he goes through with the Dursleys and how feral they are, and the bullying with Dudley. Just a phenomenal book. I love the mystery. I love the start of the relationship between Harry, Hermione and Ron. I love the importance of positive adult role models in McGonagall and Dumbledore. I just love it. I love everything about that book, and I love everything about that series. And without that series, I'm not sure that I would be the reader that I am today. I definitely read books before Harry Potter, but I think Harry Potter was the first series for me, like a lot of people, that really, really sparked a passion for reading, like nothing had prior to that. So I read book 1, loved it, and then after that I thought, well, I appear to now be out of some sort of reading slump that I was in, so let me carry on in a similar sort of vein. So I then decided to pick up this book, which was kindly gifted to me off my Amazon wishlist, which is Alchemised by Sen Lin Yu. I went into this as blind as I possibly could because I was hearing some mixed reviews about this. And one of the things that people were saying is that it glorifies sexual assault and rape and things like that. So I thought, like, I don't want to take other people's opinions into this book. So I tried my best to avoid all reviews. I avoided Reddit. and I went into it really blind, other than the fact that I'd heard people saying that about the book. If you don't know what this book is, it was a fanfic originally, a Harry Potter fanfic, a Dramini love story of sorts, if you want to call it a love story. I'm not sure I'd call it a love story. It's dark romance / dark fantasy, in my opinion. But because it gained a lot of popularity in the fanfic world, a publisher obviously picked it up and thought, right, we want to traditionally publish this, but because of copyright issues and things, we're going to have to change the story a little bit. We're going to have to change the characters' names, and they did. And then Alchemised was created. So I'll tell you the premise of this story first before I tell you why I DNF'd it, because this was the DNF in October for me. I got 50% through it. The first third of the book is kind of like current time. So you're dropped into a world where this girl called Eleanor has been captured, and you're not really sure at the start why she's been captured, but it turns out that she's part of this uprising that have been trying to overthrow a government. The government is portrayed to be quite evil and barbaric, and she, along with some of her friends, are part of this revolution that's trying to topple the government and just bring some sort of goodness to the world. But they failed. Most people have died, and she's been captured by the enemy and put in a state of stasis for about 9 months, and then she wakes up and she's like, what's happened? I don't really remember anything. So she's got some sort of... her memory has gone. I forgot what it's called when your memory's gone. Is it insomnia? No, that's when you don't sleep at night. But anyway, she can't remember anything. You know what I'm trying to say. And it's the story of these people that have captured her, trying to interrogate her to find out how this uprising became and how she was part of it, and if there's anyone left as part of this uprising. And they basically just want to make sure that there's no threats. And in doing so, as part of this interrogation, they physically and mentally torture her, and there is rape in it. And for me, one of the difficult things to read was forced impregnation. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but basically, she is forced to have a baby. And that was difficult, but it wasn't the reason why I DNF'd the book. And this is controversial. I won't even say it's controversial. It shouldn't be controversial. I think one of the reasons that people keep coming online and saying that it glorifies rape and it glorifies sexual assault and things like that is because of the fact that it's in the book. Now, for me, I don't think it glorifies it in any way, shape or form. I don't think it tries to make it seem sexy or acceptable. It's written in a way that it is horrible. It's violent, it's grim, and it's not a nice place to be the first third of this book. I personally think a lot of people have gone into this book blind and they didn't really know what they were getting themselves into. The only people that I think will truly appreciate this book, if that's the word that you want to use, are people that enjoy dark fantasy, grimdark fantasy, dark romance, books with a lot of dark themes in it. I believe if people are reading contemporary romance and cozy fantasy and traditional fantasy, they're going to go into this book and they're going to be shocked at some of the content that's in there. But the content personally didn't shock me. Yes, there is that element of shock factor. The things that you're reading aren't nice. They're quite depressing. But it's real. These things happen in war. And I think as humans, we like to pretend that these things aren't happening. But, in 2025, this stuff happens. And I think the story itself is a representation of war and the aftermath of war and just the sheer depraved nature of certain humans when you take away all laws and consequences. So I'm going to talk about the positives of the book first before I tell you why I gave up on it. I think the writing's really good. I think the plot itself will certainly appeal to certain audiences. I just wasn't that audience. I think the magic system's cool. You've got this like necromancy magic system where they're bringing people back from the dead. It's really, really dark, actually. They bring people back from the dead and make them dead people kill the loved ones who are still alive, and it's just absolutely vile. What made me DNF this book was just the fact that it didn't have enough action in it for me. I went into it hoping that there'd be some like action scenes and stuff, and it'd maybe describe the war itself and the battles within the war, but it doesn't really. It more describes the aftermath of the battles and the trauma that comes along with the aftermath of war. I think it's more of a character study and a study of human relationships and trauma. And it just didn't grab me. I found myself about halfway through getting a little bit bored. And that's it. That's my only reason for giving up with this book, was just, it just weren't grabbing me. I don't necessarily think it's a bad book, and I think it's harsh criticism to say that it glorifies rape and sexual assault. I don't think it does that at all. I'm not sure that I'd recommend it, though, to anybody. And I'm not saying I wouldn't recommend it because it's a bad book. I'm saying I wouldn't recommend it because I wouldn't want to be the reason that you pick up that book and read some of the themes that are in there. I'd much rather people organically find that book and then not blame me for telling them to read it. So am I going to say that you should read it? Absolutely not. Do I think that some of the reviews I'm seeing online are warranted? No, I don't. Check the trigger warnings before you go into it. Make sure you're in a good mental headspace. And if you do decide to read it, it's not because I recommended it to you, because I recommended that you don't read it solely because of some of the subject matter in the book. Don't think it's going to be for everyone. So after finishing, or not finishing, Alchemised, I then decided to pick up my Kindle. I looked around my shelves and I couldn't decide what to read. So I went onto my Kindle and I saw that I had book 2 in the Joe Pickett series by CJ Box, which I read book 1 last month and really enjoyed it. The Joe Pickett series is about a game warden in Wyoming who basically solves mysteries. Usually at the start of the books, I say usually, I've only read one until I finished this one, someone's dead. And Joe Pickett, this game warden's got to figure out who done it, like most mysteries. But this series for me is very different to every other series that I've read, because a lot of the mysteries that I read are police procedurals where there's a lot of forensic science and things like that and psychology behind the human mind. And this is nothing like that. Actually, most of the things that are covered in this book aren't things that I'm interested in. So environmental factors, guns, hunting, everything that this book is based around, I've just got no interest at all. But I can't help but bloody love these books. I find that they are perfect for every situation. You could sit down and read one of these books in a sitting. Well, you could, I couldn't. I'm quite a slow reader. But if you're a quick reader, they're one of them books where if you've got a day to yourself, you can sit and blast through it and it'll keep you engaged all the way through. Or, like me, if you're busy and you've got a lot on your mind, it's the kind of book where at night time you can just lay down, you can turn your lamp on, you can have a cuppa outside of you and you can just read a chapter or two and go to bed happy and excited to read a couple of chapters the day after. So at the start of this book, it's there's been a murder. And it's actually crazy. The first paragraph of this book had me grabbed straight away. I'm going to try and read it to you. I'm checking on my phone because I've got Kindle on my phone as well. I probably have to edit this bit out because it's taking a bit longer than I thought it was going to, but who knows? I'm just a bit lazy to edit. What was it called? Joe Pickett. It was called... I forgot what it was called. Bloody hell, Joe Pickett. This is not very good, is it? This is why I keep saying that I may have to start scripting my videos, because then... Savage Run! I found it. There it is, look. So, first chapter. On the third day of their honeymoon, infamous environmental activist Stewie Woods and his new bride, Annabelle Bellotti, were spiking trees in the forest when a cow exploded and blew them up. Until then, their marriage had been happy. Yeah, that's the first paragraph. Ha, they're dead. So the story follows them that are dead. And Joe Pickett's trying to figure out why they're dead, because they're environmental activists. And this series seems to follow a lot of that, whereas you've got like people who care about the environment and wildlife and people that don't and just want to hunt and kill stuff for a game. And Joe Pickett's trying to find out like who's killing who. And that's this story. Basically, some environmental activists get killed and Joe Pickett's going to try and find out who. Now, through the story, more environmental activists may or may not die, and Joe Pickett may or may not investigate said deaths. But what I love about this story isn't that all of the subject matters are interesting to me. I love the fact that Joe Pickett and his wife, Mary Beth, and his family just feel so real. It's about more than just the mystery. It's about family life. It's about parenthood and the sacrifices that you make. It's about marriage. It's about finances and the stress that finances and careers and things put on you. And there's not many mystery novels that are part of a series that I read where the author goes so much into the character work. And for me, that's what got me hooked straight away. I'm just so engaged in this family, and I just want them to be happy and do well in life. I love that Mary Beth, who is Joe Pickett's wife, plays such a strong role as well. She's such a strong female character. And I love that, because I feel like a lot of male authors spend a lot of time trying to build good male characters because they know men, they are men, so they just know how our brain works. But some of the female characters on pages written by men can just feel a bit two-dimensional. And so far, CJ Box absolutely puts as much time and effort into writing the wife as he does the husband. And I appreciate that. I really like it. It just makes the whole family dynamic just feel more real. And you can come across a lot of situations in the story where you're just like, oh, I've done that, or that feels like me in certain circumstances. I also like that throughout the stories as well, there are little snippets of like the ecosystem, like factual information about the ecosystem and wildlife, where he'll teach you about different animals and the habitat that they live in and just how they are. So it's kind of making you cleverer as you're reading it. Really, really good series, and I'm excited to get into book 3. So far, the first 2 books have all been on Kindle Unlimited as well, which is class, because I'm all for a free book. Not free, is it? Because obviously I pay for the subscription, but you get what I'm saying. So I think the whole series might be on Kindle Unlimited. Really, really enjoyed Savage Run by CJ Box, and that is definitely a series that I'd recommend, especially if you enjoy mystery novels. The first 2 books are quite short as well, so you can dip your toe in, see what you think, and if you don't like it, then it's because you've got bad taste, not because I've got bad recommendations. Then that's it. That's all I finished in October. So I finished Harry Potter, finished CJ Box, DNF'd Alchemised. I then came into this month and I wanted to read Game of Thrones, but I also wanted to read something different as well. So I actually picked up 2 books. So I am now between 2 books in November. I started reading Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, because I read Game of Thrones the month before last in September. Really enjoyed it. To the people that watched my reading vlog where I documented the whole book and gave live reactions and stuff who were excited for book 2, I'm not doing it. I'm really sorry. My headspace is just not there, and I'm not going to come online and pretend that I'm in this like crazy, crazy happy place when I'm not. I'm all right. I don't want anyone to worry. Like, I'm doing fine, but just the mental stress of new job, moving, just everything. I'm not going to pick up a camera and start vlogging while I'm reading. I just want to get lost in a book and enjoy it, and then come on at the end of the month and tell you what I thought of it. So really sorry, but maybe upon doing a reread further down the line, I'll do a vlog of sorts. Hopefully you forgive me. Don't leave me like my dad did. Just love me for what I am. So far, I'm bloody loving this. It's just building so much more on book 1. I think I'm enjoying this series as well more because I haven't seen the TV series, so I really don't know what's happening. I don't know who everyone is. When a new character comes along, I end up messaging Macaulay, who's the lad that I'm doing the buddy reads with, and I'll be like, who's this? I've just been introduced to someone called Theon Greyjoy, and I didn't know who we were. But I kind of had a slight understanding in my head, so I texted him and said, like, is this right? Is he one of Ned Stark's old like prisoners of sorts? And he was like, yeah, so he told me. So I like the mystery of all who these characters are, because boy, do they throw a lot of characters at you. There's so many characters. There's more characters in these Game of Thrones books than I have hair follicles on my head. And I know I don't have hair on my head, but there are still follicles there. They're just inactive. But I actually like it because every character feels unique. There's just so many marvellous characters in this series. And if you have already seen the TV series, I still implore you to read the books, because there's no way, it's physically impossible that the TV series could add all of the depth of character work that George R.R. Martin does in these books. They're just stupendous how good these characters are. I am always character first. Characters and plot, really. But, like, Tyrion is an absolute G. I don't think I've met many characters as good as Tyrion in fantasy. He's definitely in my top 5. I love the fact that George R.R. Martin wrote a character with a physical disability who uses his brains rather than his strength to basically beat everyone. He outsmarts everyone. He's clever as shit. He doesn't let his disability affect him in any way, shape or form, but it does still bother him. Mentally, it bothers him. There was a chapter I read recently where he was having like an inner monologue, and he was talking about the fact that he'd love to have a kid one day, but if he had a child, he'd want his kid to look like his brother but think like him. And I was like, Tyrion, let me hug you. I mean, I don't trust him. I fully believe that if I was to hug him, he'd probably stab me, but I just love him and I want him to do well in life. So you've got like the mystery behind that. Like you can't trust anyone in these stories. There's a lot of mystery in these books. Like, everyone's just nosy bastards. Like, everyone knows everyone's business. Everyone's trying to find out everyone's business if they don't know it, and then they gossip about it. You've got the Stark sisters, Arya and Sansa. I hated Sansa in book 1. I thought she was a spoiled little witch. But then in book 2, I'm feeling sorry for her already. I understand that she's a young girl who's impressionable and she just wants Joffrey to love her, and Joffrey's a dick, and he needs to stand on some Lego because he's just one of the most feral characters I've ever read. His mum's a witch as well. Like, Joffrey is literally his mum's son. They're both absolute wasters. The Lannisters, just in general, seem like absolute idiots, and I hope they all stand on plugs or Lego or something. Just really hurt themselves. They're just horrible. But then they add to the story. Without them, the story wouldn't be what it is. Who else do I really like? There's so many good characters. I like Jon Snow. I want to know more about him. There's just so many. I'd be here all day if I was to tell you how many good characters there are in this book. And you're not going to love them all. You're going to hate some of them, but you're still going to enjoy the chapters. So I'm absolutely here for this story. It's marvellous. The writing itself is just 10 out of 10. The world building is probably the most like extreme world building, and by that what I mean is it's not just about like the where of where everything is. It's the fact that George R.R. Martin takes time to go into, you know, different fashions and food, and the world is just humongous. There's just not a detail missed in this world, and I'm taking my time with it. I'm really taking it slowly, and I'm just enjoying every single page of the series so far. But when I get to bed at night, if I don't fancy reading fantasy, I'm picking up Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. As a lot of you know, Stephen King has been miss and miss for me. I don't think there's been many of his books really that I've read that have been deserving of the hype. But so far, this is the best start to any of his books that I've read. I think because of my background of really enjoying police procedurals and mysteries and thrillers and things like that, this should be more at my street than anything else. But what I struggle with sometimes with Stephen King is that he's a waffler. He just goes on and on and on about pointless shit. You know, where he could make a point in a chapter, it takes him 100 pages. So, I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but some of his writing can be quite verbose. And this book doesn't feel that way. Right at the start of this book, it describes this mass murder, I suppose you could call it, where this guy in a Mercedes plows into this crowded group of people and kills loads of them. And then the chapter ends. And then the next chapter, this isn't really spoilers because it's first 2 chapters of the book. The next chapter, you've got this retired detective, I think his name's Bill Hodges, who is sat on his sofa, and he's been in police force for 40 years, and he really just doesn't know what to do with his life. He's depressed. He keeps picking up this gun, and he's having like inner monologues where you're thinking to yourself, is he thinking suicidal thoughts? Yeah, he is, because he's just lost all his purpose. And it talks about the fact that a lot of people that served in police force, once they retire, and the military, once they retire, they really don't know what their purpose is in life. And he's that guy. He doesn't know what to do with his life. He's just sat watching Jerry Springer and Judge Judy, being miserable. And then he gets a letter through the post from this guy that ploughed down all these people, almost challenging him to take his own life. And he's like, look, I know that you're pissed off because you didn't catch me. Unlucky, pal. You're never going to catch me. I'm too good for you. You suck. Kill yourself. And that's about where I'm up to. But both them chapters, I were like, oh my goodness. Bill Hodges feels like a real person suffering real problems, and this killer, fucking mental. So really excited for this. Truly, it's the only book of Stephen King's that I've read where I've read a few chapters and thought, I want to read more. The only reason I didn't read more is because I've still got to move stuff from old house to this house and stuff. So that's what I am reading at the minute. Now, what I plan on doing in November, is there's a couple of plans really I've got for November. So I don't know whether I just continue with the Game of Thrones series with Macaulay because I'm really, really enjoying that. But I also want to reread Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff because when I originally read that about a year and a half ago, my mental health wasn't fantastic. I enjoyed it, but I think I'd have enjoyed it more if I'd waited until I was in a better headspace. But not only that, Empire of the Dawn, which is book 3 in that trilogy, the finale, is out on the 6th. What date is it today? The 4th. So it's out in 2 days. So I want to reread that to refresh my mind and then read book 3. And I also think I might need to reread Will of the Many. I was planning on doing that last month, but then one thing got in way and stuff, and I just didn't end up reading it. Because The Strength of the Few, which is book 2 in the Hierarchy series by James Islington, or Islington, I don't know how you pronounce it, that is due out this month as well. And I like to refresh my memory because I've got such a shit memory. I'll read a book and usually within a month I've kind of forgotten most of the plot. The main plot stays with me, but there's just loads of little intricacies and stuff that I miss out on. And if I go into a book too, I like to try and be as fresh as possible so I can get the most enjoyment from it. But long story short, I'm buying them books. I know I told you before that I was on a book buying ban, but it's my birthday on 20th of November. So I've told my wife, usually she'll get me stuff and surprise me and stuff. But I've said to her this year, please can I just have Waterstones vouchers? Because I've been on a book buying ban so long, I haven't been to Waterstones for a couple of months and physically bought a new book. And I just want to go in, I want to go and sniff pages and be a book perv and buy new books. So I plan on going in and buying the new Jay Kristoff book and also The Strength of the Few, along with whatever else I can find. And I'm buzzing for that because, as you all know, book buying it is just the endorphin hit that we need all the time, but it's bloody expensive. So I've got a few different plans. Like November could go a few different ways. Now, let me show you what I bought. I know I said I was on a book buying ban, but this doesn't count. So it's from charity and it's giving back to Age UK, which is a great cause, and these books needed a new home because they were used. So anyway, I have just been to charity shop because we're giving loads of stuff away from the old house because we haven't got room for it in the new house, and I saw something I've never seen in my entire life. This is crazy, and it might not be crazy to you, but it's crazy to me. So, you ready? Have you ever seen that in a hardback? Because I hadn't. No. I was looking through all the shelves and I thought, let me just have a quick look. Because every time I go into charity shops, I can't help but look. So they're like 50p a book, aren't they, usually? And I was looking around, and I looked down and I was just like, what the frick? Is that a hard copy? So I picked it up and I was like touching it and stuff. It's like, is my mind deceiving me? And I started doing this and I was like, that is a hard copy. Didn't even know they existed. The original cover is a hardback. I was like, I've got to have it. I already had the mass market paperback versions, but I'll just give them away to charity. So I picked that up and then behind it, book 2 in a hardback. So I was just like, you're telling me that somebody on planet Earth has gone to a charity shop and they've taken hardback versions of Harry Potter book 1 and 2 to give away. 3, hardback. 4, hardback. 5, hardback. 6, hardback. You get where this is going. 7, hardback. My life's complete. My life is complete. I now own the full Harry Potter series in hardback, mission accomplished. I could just keep them forever now and pass them on to my kids because there is just no greater feeling. I don't care how much you love or hate these books. There is no better feeling when you pick up Harry Potter than seeing that cover. At least if you live in England, like that is Harry Potter and that is Harry Potter. Not them other stupid covers that they do and then try and resell to you as limited editions. That's what I think to that. This is Hogwarts. Made my day. £4 a book, and I thought that was a great bargain. £4 a book, and it made me feel on top of the world. So that's everything, I think. We've talked about what I read in October. I know I babbled this video, but I needed a rate chat with you lot because I've got no internet, so I can't post as regularly. I don't know how I'm going to get this video up. And if I can't use my phone to tether and upload it and stuff, you'll never know anyway because video won't see light of day. And then it'll just be half an hour of me having a chat, which is like therapy anyway, isn't it? So, yeah, we spoke about what I read. We spoke about what I plan on reading. Oh, shut the front door. This came through the post last week or the week before. Someone bought it off my Amazon wishlist and sent it me. It's The Hobbit, like a nice cute edition that I put on my wishlist. And someone sent it me, but they didn't write a note. So if you would do me a favour, whoever bought me this, just bang it in comments and tell me, because it truly matters to me. When you get me these things, like, I appreciate it so much. And I love the fact that you don't put a note and you don't want recognition. I think it's cute and stuff like that. But I'd love to know who bought it, man. I'd love to know why. Because the notes for me mean as much as the physical book. Another thing I want to say is thank you to all of you who give me recommendations, because every single comment, even if I don't get back to it, I read them all. And if you give me a recommendation, I'll go onto Google, I type it in, I look at the synopsis and I see if it's something that I think I'd be interested in. And a book that someone recommended to me recently that I've downloaded onto my Kindle that I'm excited to read and might end up reading it in November is a book called The Lies You Wrote. On one of my last videos, someone told me that they were reading it, and I went on Google and it sounded right up my street. It's part of a series. It seems like it's like a police procedural kind of thing. It says, The Lies You Wrote, Razor Susanto, Book 1 by Brianna Labusks. I probably butchered all them names, but yeah, what I'm trying to say to you is just thank you for taking the time, any of you who write comments and things like that, because even if I don't come back to you, I read every single one meticulously, whether it's about mental health, if you're telling me about your struggles and things like that, I read them and I remember them. And if you give me recommendations, I take them on board and I add them to my list and I add them to my TBR and things like that. So just thank you for taking the time of day to sit down and watch my videos and speak to me and open up. I know I come on here and I open up to you lot and I talk about my mental health struggles and life and whatnot. But for you to also open up and put, your struggles out into the kind of sphere of social media is brave. So thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate every single one of you. As always, if you've watched to this point, I truly love you the most. I'll see you in the next one, and I'll try and figure out where I'm going to start shooting these videos, because at the minute I'm sat on my living room floor with the camera on the sofa because I just haven't figured life out yet. Mwah!